you know, it's if you think about Era, you really have to think that you're talking to a Google or a LinkedIn or that kind of company. It's not SAP, it's not Oracle, it's modern, it's at scale, and it's super intelligent. So the voice helps bring that home.
So before we had these times at Sunroll and
I haven't shown that for 2 years.
So now that we have signed contracts, can we have the signed credentials?
We could, but you know what? I feel like, so that's maybe me talking and I may be wrong, but I don't want to justify anything. You're not here to justify yourself. You're here, you have a short amount of time. If they ask for it, this is back to they never ask us for our financials because we probably never justified anything. We explain, we push, but you don't have to go in the traditional, they're not on our website and they will not be. They're not going to be on our decks, the traditional, that these are all the logo slides and all this stuff. No, you generate that credibility when you present. The other thing I would say is, I feel like sometimes when I'm sitting with some of you, you tend to, you need to make that story really yours, not mine, not Sharik's. It's your story, and you don't need to justify too much where it's coming from. You are here right now to tell me what your vision is for this very cool company called Era. The fact that 25 years ago you were doing this, and 20 years ago you were doing that, and 15 years ago, you can mention it when you're casually opening, but just make it yours. Right? You don't have to justify who you are. You don't have to justify who we are. Just talk about this vision, talk about this technology. I think it's going to give you more credibility, more confidence. If they want to know who you are and where you come from and all the stuff, you can. But only bring that in the context of explaining the vision. I always talk about my story to say where the vision is coming from. Right? But not to legitimize myself in any way. Just to say, this vision comes from there. So you have to really work on that. And each one of you will have a different spin to it. But talk about where that vision has been yours. You own that vision. And you don't have to justify too much. The minute you go into the justification, you cannot expose yourself, in my opinion. And I'd rather have someone say, oh, great, Fred, this was fantastic. Can you tell me where you've done it? Sure, I'll tell you. But I don't have to go and justify right away, hey, please, I'm serious, I've got great references. No. Be bold.
Awesome. Right, so
how many pillars you got?
We will focus primarily on whether so we focus on whether the logo moves or not.
That's really what matters.
That's what matters. This time it won't be. All right. So skills, right? So we presented skills in a multiple different ways in the past, right? I mean, today what Fred mentioned, kind of wrote it down. It's worth repeating it, right? So we call them the skills because it's real time and always now on thinking and learning. And then this other thing about this whole cognitive, decision board, permanent memory of how decisions are made, and then how you execute and operationally work on those skills. So it's actually very powerful definition of skills in itself, and it distinguishes you from your standard static applications out there. What we want to show here is how actually skills evolve. Once you see this wheel of skill, I'm going to ask you a bunch of other questions as well. But what inspires this skill is the Era platform. So we are not selling a skill for order management, like the title says. We are not selling a skill for supply chain. We are not selling a skill for sales or finance or any other supply chain topic or whatnot. What we are selling, or rather we are talking about, is this whole concept of self-driving enterprise with a platform that does understand, recommend, predict, and act. Once you presented this whole concept, very confidently, you will not have to explain them that, this skill is for procurement, and they will not come back and ask you, can you also do demand management? That question will go away forever, because you have now presented the concept of understand, recommend, predict, and act, more so than a solution that does a small supply chain thing here and there, right? So our focus, our core at the center of any skill or any function or department within an enterprise is the platform, which is Era. So we start there, platform Era. The next layer, in this case we are talking about supply chain, to a supply chain executive. So is the supply chain function, right? So you have order management, demand, logistics, manufacturing, promotions, procurement, inventory, right? That kind of, does your, whole, supply chain functions in general. Now you could replace this whole thing with, sales, finance, some other function within the enterprise as well. It doesn't matter if it's just, this or the others, because it's powered from that core, which is the platform itself. Now you pick one example under order management. Under order management, again, this is it's more generic, right? It's industry agnostic, it's process agnostic and whatnot. If your organization is doing some kind of an order management process within the company, order fulfillment, they're going to think about three different things. They're going to think about the order life cycle itself, from the time an order is, coming to a company, a sales order, to the time it's fully processed and the goods are delivered. You want full visibility and you actually want to monitor those type of things as well. Then the other three actually will change a few things here, but it's planning, right? You want to prioritize orders, you want to segment those orders, you want to do a different, ATP, for example. It's a part of planning. An order comes in, an ATP check automatically starts happening, right? And tells you whether you're going to be able to fulfill that order on time and in full, right? So those type of planning processes within the order, management area also come through. And we call these the supply chain drivers. And then the final one is the order execution, where you actually ship the goods. It's more of a transactional activity, and the goods are delivered to the customer, right? But order in general, the drivers for making this whole order management process self-driving are typically these three high-level drivers, right? Then you go one level down. What are the self-driving levers, right, for this particular area of focus, right? So if you say, for example, pick lifecycle management, what do you want to make self-driving? What is the lever for making that particular chunk of that process self-driving within lifecycle management? Yes, you want to do self-driving monitoring. You want to do self-driving exception management. You get real-time alerts and whatnot, but you don't want the humans to go and manually process those alerts one by one, those exceptions one by one. You want to make those things self-driving. It just doesn't make any sense to do those things manually. One, you're not going to be able to do all of it on your own manually in the limited time the humans have to do those things. Two, it's going to be very inefficient, and the quality of the way the machines and the platform works is much more powerful than us humans can do, right? Again, planning, prioritization, allocation, ATP, and cost to serve. Different levers for order planning process. What can you make self-driving? We talked about ATP already deployed. We are doing J&J. We are expanding in cost to serve. Because of ATP, we had to do a very solid supply allocation. You talked about RB, that they are doing this whole process of life cycle management and execution today, right? But then they are focusing on those levers that make that particular driver and that particular supply chain function self-driving, which is powered again by the platform Understand, Recommend, Predict, and Act.
Michelle, there is a point that's super important that I realized I didn't make earlier well enough, which I think the word automation comes naturally when you're talking about this, but I really think we should use the word augmentation as opposed to automation. Because the point on, the ATP is we're not automating anything. We're actually doing things that were not possible before at J&J, and that will get better over time. Think about this, the Merck, right? So use case around forecasting. It's not just about automating the forecasting process. It's that by building this permanent memory of what adjustments we're making, and by constantly improving the quality of the recommendations, will ultimately make the forecast more accurate. And that's something that people really get. So when you look at one of these levers, you have to literally in your head go like, okay, Mr. Sharrock, is your concern more about automation, augmentation? What if you had a system like Era that could actually increase the accuracy of your ATP date or increase the accuracy of your forecast or increase over time? And that's really important because it moves you away from the automation. You really have to talk about augmentation. And these two dimensions. And I would say, go always with